Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I am Agi Keramidas and my mission is to inspire you to rise up, grow, stand out and take action towards the next level of your life. I am interviewing leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, authors, exceptional people who can and will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week, every Monday and Thursday. In today's show, I'm excited to speak with Kane Sarota-Novak. Kane, you have had a successful path in your life associated with acting in theatre, film and TV in Australia, where you're from. Through a major and sudden personal adversity in your life, when you got separated, you had a transformation. And now after your experiences, your passion is helping people who have separated to stop living in suffering so that they can live in their own magnificent light. Kane, welcome to Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and share some of the experiences. So this is very exciting. I'm excited.
That's great. And it's incredible to start a conversation on an excited note like this. Awesome.
Yes, it is.
Kane, let's start with your story. I would like in specific to share with us a key defining moment, especially in terms of your personal development journey or anything you feel that is relevant.
Okay. Yes. So, look, the separation was a shock, and most are. And for the life of me, I never imagined that I was going to be separated. I never imagined that I was never not going to be married. Yes, there were problems, and it's a two-way street, and there's never one person to blame, right? There's always two people playing the party. But when it happened, it was a large shock, and I got sat down at dinner. The kids were in the other room, and my wife at the time had said, "I'm done. You're too weak for me. I need a stronger man." And in my mind, I was thinking, "Wow, that's intense." And obviously the conversation went on, but that was a key defining moment because it echoed in my head for months and months. And I knew that I was strong. I knew I knew the things that I'd done in my life, and you know, I was having a weak moment in my life, and you know, kick me when I'm down. Okay, that's cool. But what it drove me to do, so with separation, when you go through it, is grief. You go through it, grief, and you go through the 5 stages of grief. So I was initially in denial, and for the first month, only the first week, actually, the first week, I was doing things like writing, like I used to do, right? Writing poems and writing letters and leaving them all over the place and all that. And I was like, I'm not letting this happen, right? No. And that was me. I was like, I don't fail, no. But a week later, she had a conversation with me and said that stop doing what you're doing. It's making me feel really bad and guilty. And I lost my shit, and I jumped in the car. We had an argument about it, and you know, I questioned if there was someone else involved, and apparently there wasn't. You know, there was it was just her, apparently, trying to figure out her own place, her identity, if there was more to life. And I jumped in the car and I bawled my eyes out. for about 45 minutes while I was driving. Mm-hmm. Now, when I say bawled my eyes out, I don't mean just crying, sobbing, and I mean these tears were running so fast down my face that at one stage I had to open my eye, right, with one hand while I was driving because I couldn't see the road properly.
Yeah, I know the experience.
Yes, intense, right? It was so painful. Anyway, that was probably the biggest moment right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Can you, at the same time, would you like to guide us through the grieving process in general, and as you went along it yourself, so that because I think it's a fascinating topic, and people can identify with the process, how it goes from the stage of denial to the other 4 stages. So if you can share that with us, I think it's very useful for everyone to understand in similar situations.
Yes. So denial is your first stage, and bargaining is next. Mm-hmm. So when I was going through bargaining, it was in the first 3 months. I was trapped in this bargaining state because there was still a little bit of hope. That's what bargaining is. Yeah. There's still hope that that you'll get back together. But what I did, because I was seeing a psychologist at the time and counselors, mm-hmm. and the thing they kept saying to me was that I needed to take my time. And I needed to take it day by day. Mm-hmm. And everyone's different, and everyone takes different lengths of time of going through the struggles of grief and separation, and, just get prepared for it for the next few years. And I was like, no, what I need to know is, how do I fast track mm-hmm. grief?
Yeah.
How do I get through it fast? Because I've got 2 kids at home, and they're at the time they were 3 and 6, mm-hmm. and they needed my head and they needed my heart to be clear, so I could actually give them love, right? So that was my determining factor through my process. That everyone was telling me that you can't fast track, and I was like, there's got to be a way. I've got to be able to figure this out. So I started listening to some of the greatest speakers around the world, mm-hmm. some of the most motivational speakers around the world, all about mindset, all about putting where your thought processes into a positive direction.
Can you give me a couple of names there of those people, the motivation? It is a personal development podcast after all.
Yeah. So Tony Robbins is definitely one, and I've known Tony Robbins for not personally, but I've listened to his things, his work over the last 40 years, 30 years, and he was probably the most paramount in my listening to someone positive in that respect, about mindset. Jim Rohn was another one. Mm-hmm. Les Brown, the big Les Brown. Les Brown is awesome, right? He's just fantastic. And the reason why I was doing that was because, grief isn't that simple. It's not just the 5 stages of denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and then acceptance. Mm-hmm. Understanding the chemical imbalances that are going on in your body. So when you're going through the intensity of it, you're feeling emotions like shock and denial and anger and anxiousness and confusion and embarrassment and frustrated and motivated and furious and scared and lost and suspicious, right? And that all happens within 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. It's just this wild roller coaster. But no one was explaining that to me, mm-hmm. that these are the things that are going to happen. This is just normal. This is just a normal thing that you're going to go through. Just be aware of it. This happens every day, all day. But what you need to be aware of is that the inner voice is the most destructive tool within your body. So that's where I was like, right, all I'm waking up and all I'm thinking about is the pain, the loss, the confusion. What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? I'm no good. I'm lousy. I'm weak. All these things, right? And I was like, right, how do I change this? So I'm still in the stage of bargaining, and I'm going through all that thought process. So understanding the subconscious. So there's, it's just not a simple fix, right? There's so many levels that you need to understand. And the subconscious is another level that you need to be aware of, that 95% of our time we're running in our subconscious. We're doing things. We're driving the car. We don't have to think about it. We're walking. We're eating. You don't think I've got to put the fork in my mouth while I'm trying to eat. Right? It's automatic. The brain knows how to do these things. So with that inner voice going on, how do you stop it? And that's where you need to raise up and raise the inner gladiator. You need to ask yourself, who's protecting my mind? Who's standing inside my mind trying to protect me from myself? Who's trying to destroy me at the same time? And what I found worked for me was a gladiator. For me, it was someone that was stood up strong. And every morning I forced myself out of bed, I rolled out of bed. Like I looked up at the ceiling and tears. Some mornings I'd just be crying, right? Just wake up and just cry. And I would just force myself out of bed. And I knew that the physiology needed to change. So I pushed myself into a cold shower. And all of a sudden your breathing becomes deep. And you're like, yeah! But the very first moment in that very early stages, I went and listened to one of those important speakers. And I put it on, and I would go and do exercise. So these are the other elements. This is all in bargaining, right? This is all in denial and bargaining. You've got to be really fast on this. Otherwise, you can get trapped in there for years. For years, people get trapped in those areas of especially bargaining, where they think that maybe there is still hope. It's so hard by myself. Maybe we should just get back because it would be easier, right? And that
easier
mindset
is the right word, yes.
It stifles your progress, and it stifles your ability to grow in your own life. And that's the inner voice. So one of the next steps that I was really aware of was, right, I'm going to stop drinking any form of alcohol. I'm going to start doing exercise because I know I need to get the happy drugs in my body to start popping for me to be able to try to counteract the negativity that's going on, which is so in your face. Like it's relentless. And because you question yourself every day, every moment, every second. Now, at that stage, I was still the manager of a restaurant as well as being the events coordinator manager of a multi-million-dollar aquarium, doing high-class silver service degustations in a huge aquarium filled with 70 to 100 people and going up to 300, crazy stuff, right? And so I still had to try and have my head about me at work, and you just fall over constantly. But I would tell my staff, because I was a leader I always tried to be that leader that they could learn as an example. And I was truthful with them. Today's a bad day. I'm having a really shit day. I'm going to be trying to be positive, but don't freak out if I just start crying. And I was honest with them, and that prepared them. And that empowers them to know that, leaders have shit days too, right? And it makes them feel comfortable. And then they're there as for me to support me while I'm going through my emotional turmoil. So food was the next step. Cut out the drinks. What's my food? And I really focused. I started studying gut health. and what gut health does. And you know, most of your serotonin and half of your dopamine are created in your stomach, in your intestines, right? And that communicates with the brain, and that's your gut-brain connection. And that's where you start, you raise your energy levels. So your vibration will heighten through the foods that you eat, right? So to counter all that negativity, I was finding all these things, right? So I need to focus on my diet. I didn't get this from any social workers or psychologists. This is all me going, these are all the things that I know are going to stimulate me into the right direction. So I've got to start putting them in place. So I started eating really healthy. I started working out at least 6 days a week. And I do it in the morning and try and get it out of the way first thing in the morning. You know, a lot of people say go to meditation. And meditation will work when you've calmed down. But when you're in the throes of anxiety and turmoil and physical debilitation, meditation doesn't work. You really need to be physical. You need to release it physically. Because you try to meditate and all your mind is doing is just
it's much more difficult.
Screaming at you, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It comes in, but once you've started gaining some control.
Oh, yeah.
So the food was really important. The working out, gratitude, a massive thing. Now, where do you find gratitude when you're in utter turmoil? You look at the simple things. I've got 2 kids and they're incredible. They are so, so happy. The sun's coming up and I'm alive and I don't have a bomb going over my head. That's pretty lucky.
Oh, yes.
That's an amazing feeling to have, right? And so those are the simple things that I just constantly, I would go outside when the sun is rising and watch the birds and just thank everyone for being where I am. Thanking for having a roof over my head. The simple things that I could walk, you know, and you have to force yourself to feel that and really appreciate that, yeah, I'm going through pain, but I'm so lucky that I've got these features around me that I'm not dead. I'm living and breathing, and I can change everything by choice.
Yeah. Did you practice gratitude writing it down as well, or was it just mentally while you were doing about your day?
Mentally, yeah.
Okay.
Mentally, everything was all mental and physical in those early stages. The capacity of trying to sit there and read something or try to write something was non-existent.
Wasn't there? Okay.
Yeah. Too much emotion.
Yeah. So when you say you mentioned the phrase fast track the grief. So are these the elements, the building blocks, what you were saying, the cutting alcohol, minding your nutrition, exercising, all these bits, are these the key elements in fast tracking the process?
They're most of them.
Okay.
But there's more. One of the biggest ones is knowing where you're going and what you want to achieve.
Right.
So we don't get through that psychology side of things. There's not much forethought of, okay, where do you actually want to be? Like, where do you see yourself in 12 months' time? How do you see yourself behaving to your ex-partner that has children with you that you need to see every week? And no matter what, you still have kids to raise. You still have to talk to them. My purpose in my fast tracking was my children, because they needed their dad to lead by an example just like I'm at work, I need to lead by my example, to have compassion and empathy. I had to do the same with my children. And I was like, I need to show them how to live their life when they go through an adverse situation of negativity, and how they should respond. That was my aim. Now I had my children, right? So it didn't really happen for me, because remember, no one was explaining this to me. I'm plucking it all out as I'm going along, right? Just plucking it out listening to some of the greatest speakers, but also knowing from my experience of other things, of the things I needed to put in place. So for that first 3 months, those were the main things I was focusing on. I knew I had to get strong physically. I knew I had to mentally get strong. So I was constantly changing the direction of my thought pattern by putting a positive speaker on. And every single time I started falling into that negative inner voice talk, I went and put my headphones on. I put Les Brown on, or Tony Robbins, or one of the big boys, right? And I just listen. And within 10 minutes, I kid you not, within 10 minutes, all of a sudden, those thoughts that you had are gone.
I think, Kane, the key moment in these situations is being aware that you are starting to go down the hole of negativity, because the thoughts have this subtlety in their nature. So they carry you along where they want to go without you being aware of it many times. So it can be hours before you realize that I'm stuck in a negative mental loop. And it's great what you're telling me, that you had the awareness to quickly or immediately, this is what's going on. Let me do that, which I know is going to counteract it and combat it and change it. So I think that's right. That moment of awareness is the very, very important.
Yes, it is. And just to back that up, before the separation, before that bomb day, the D-Day, right? I was going through a state of depression at that point. Questioning my life. I was missing my acting career, because I was working in this full-time job because of family, and living 2,000 kilometers away from the closest city, and where all my tribe was. Where I was doing all my work, and I was going through all those things during that stage, and depression, which comes. I'll get to that depression stage through separation, but depression is a very sneaky bugger, and he sneaks up on you before you know it. Just as you were saying, these negative talks. It's not screaming at you; it's subtly whispering. It's whispering to you and going, "You're shit. You're no good." And that slowly, and all of a sudden you're consumed 7 hours later, and you feel like shit. And you wonder, and you're angry, and you yell at your friends, you yell at your partner, you yell at your children, and you don't know why, because it's snuck up on you so subtly. So the moment that D-Day came for me, when my then wife dropped the bomb, I snapped out of that depression straight away, and I was like, I'm done. That was like a switch. And I just became so self-aware to figure out, how did I screw this up? That was my questioning. How did I screw this up? Now, as I'm doing all of this, going through the denial and bargaining stages, it got to just before Christmas. And I found out that an associate had left his wife. And the questions all started, the rumors all started, and they've got 2 kids, same age. And it was all denied until 3 weeks after that, in the new year, when it finally came out. And then all of a sudden, rather than just being a direct family issue, it became the community issue.
I get it. Mm-hmm.
And everyone knew about it. And then it made it so much more intense. So remembering grief, now I've got an acronym for grief. It's gracefully reclaiming inner self earns freedom.
Say that one more time.
Gracefully reclaiming inner self earns freedom.
Awesome.
When you think of grief like that, it's actually really exciting. It's like, right, okay, there seems to be a big bright light at the end of that. Rather than thinking that it's death and turmoil and destruction and, oh my gosh, this is going to be a horrible ride. It's actually a beautiful ride of discovery. So when that happened in the 4th month, I knew that I had to start facing fears. So when you look at the stages of grief, they're all fear-based. Denial, fear. Bargaining, fear. Anger, fear. Depression, fear. And the last stage, acceptance, is where the enlightenment comes, the joy, the beautiful moments in life, right? But that's a hard place to get to if you don't know how to get there.
Does that happen quickly when you reach that stage? I mean, going from to the acceptance part, is that eventually a snapping and accepting, or is it gradual? I mean, between the 4th and the 5th stage.
Yeah, so it's snapping.
Snapping, okay.
It snaps. Yeah, you'll feel lighter. Like I came to the end of the depressive stage at the end of April, which was my wedding anniversary on the 29th of April. And it was after a month-long turmoil of depression with events happening to me. While I was down on the ground, there was events kicking me in the face and in the guts, and I thought the world was going to explode. But the actor in me went, hey, I've got to let myself fall and see where I'm going to go, right?
Yeah.
But then once I felt that, it took another 5 weeks, and I just woke up one morning and I went, wow, holy shit, I feel good. And all the weight had gone, all the stress had gone, all the muscle tension had gone. And I was like, wow, it worked. And then I was really just self-aware because people were scared I was going to fall back in, but I never did. I still haven't. It was just that I went through every stage and I dealt with every stage by facing my fears. So when it happened, I went, right, I need a meeting with my wife. I need a meeting with the boyfriend. I need a meeting with his wife. And we all need to talk.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's 4 kids involved. It's not 2 people. It's not 4 people. It's 8 people involved, right? Not including the masses of family that's all around. That's, anyway.
Sure.
So I did that. And the fastest way to get into the next stage, because I went from that, when I found out, I went into anger. And you balance between anger and bargaining, right? You'll fall into anger, you'll fall into bargaining, you'll fall into anger, you'll fall into bargaining, right? It's just this whirlpool of just going backwards and forwards, right? Until you make a decision. And my decision was, right, I had the meeting with my ex-wife, and I empowered her to have a life of success, that I wanted to see her happy, that her happiness was detrimental to the happiness of my children. And if you were happy, my kids will be happy, which will make me happy.
Yes. Because
we still have to raise these 2 children. And we're adults. And I told her that I'll deal with my own shit and you deal with your shit, because you're an adult, I'm an adult, but don't utilize that on the children, because we still have to protect them and try and minimize the collateral damage through all of this. And it was at that point that I shut the door on bargaining. I went, that's it. Bang. I made a decision. It's over. There is no hope left. It's done, dusted. And that is one of the biggest decisions when people are going through it that they need to decide on. They just, and I'm not saying that it will never happen again, right? People change. Circumstances change. You never know. But people need to evolve and work and become better people, better humans. And then all of a sudden you might go, oh, we are quite good friends, aren't we? Who knows? But you have to make the decision that it's done and dusted. It's over. It's done. I love you as a person, but we are not getting together because I need to focus on me now and find out what's going on in me. So this is the other journey. So when you're in this turmoil of anguish, this is the best time when you're down to start looking inside yourself and what else is in there that is actually affecting you. What elements from your past haven't you let go of? What stories are you holding on to? This is the best time to do it. Do it all at once, because that will fast track your ability to get to acceptance.
Yeah. Can I ask you something? Moving, listening to your story, when at that during that period or after maybe, did you decide that you can help others go through that period faster and smoother?
It was 4 weeks, about 3.5. It was just at the start of July 2019, so just over a year ago.
Yeah.
Where I was listening to Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi.
Okay.
And the question was, what can you teach? And people like professional people were asking me, can I teach what I did? Because what I did doesn't happen on a professional scale from their opinion. And they were interested of going, how did you do that? Because that doesn't happen, especially with all the events that were going on. And I sat on that for about 3 weeks. And then I was listening to Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and they were like, what is your purpose? What can you teach people? What's your experience? And I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I can teach this. I think I know all the factors involved that I can really develop something in a program. And that day I was skateboarding, and I had to put my dog down 2 weeks prior to this day in in July. And I was going on a big cruising skateboard on my longboard along the Esplanade in Cairns. And I was doing my ceremony inside myself for my dog, and remembering all the good things, really focusing on all the good things. And I said goodbye. And it was at that stage, a thought came into my head about a friend that I knew. And I hadn't heard from her on social media for about 5 years. And I was like, random thought. And I was like, I wonder what's going on with her. Anyway, I sent her a message, and I was like, hey, I haven't seen anything of you for ages. Just checking if everything's okay. Well, she actually went through a divorce, and she was a really bubbly, really outgoing person, live music, sociability, parties, all that kind of thing, right? And she turned into someone that locked themselves in their home, reading their books with her 2 dogs and going to work. And she wasn't even able to talk about it. And I just went, whoa,
yeah.
That's 5 years of suffering that you're living through, that you're allowing someone else to take away your own light, your own power, your own beauty. And I went, I've got to fix this.
Were you able to help her?
Not yet. She's. I'm working on it. Slowly. I'm still building everything. I'm still my program. My initial short course program will be out in the next week.
I actually wanted to ask you, Kane. Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to ask you about your program. What it is that you. So, if you could share in a nutshell, who can you help? Who do you work with? And quickly run us through the process, how you do it.
Yeah. It's not a quick process. So
I know it's not. I'm just.
That's not a quick process. Have you been listening to me for the last 30 minutes?
It's not a quick, but you can fast track it. So
yes, you can fast track it. Yeah. Once you understand all the parameters that's going on a scientific level, once you start seeing the science in how you think and how your body communicates and how that children are the paramount. I'll start here. So the program, the people that I deal with are people that have gone through a separation, especially if they've got children.
Yes.
Right. But the other people that I really help is people that had a separation when they were kids and their parents didn't deal with it properly, which is a very common theme of their parents not dealing with it properly. And the children, all those problems that weren't showing as a child come out when they're an adult. And they're the people that I also help with, because it's all about going back there and finding the gratitude in living and understanding that they were just doing what they thought was right, you know, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff associated to that. But some of the other people that are associated to this is they might not have children and they've separated, and they separated 10, 15 years ago. But they didn't deal with the grief properly. So can I explain something?
Sure.
I call it the corridor of life. Okay, so go with me here. If you can just close your eyes and just imagine from your feet up to the top of your head is this vast, large corridor. And along that side of either side of the corridor, it's full of wooden doors all the way up, right? And when you're born as a young child and you're a toddler and you're playing around, every one of those doors in that beautiful big corridor is open. And there is a vast wind channeling through that corridor. And it's beautiful because that's your energy. That's your life force. That's the energy. That's the beauty in everything, right? The love, the excitement, the spontaneity. That's the inner child going, yeah, life is awesome, right? Then something bad happens to us when we're a child. And we don't know how to deal with it properly when we're a child because we don't have the tools for it. So we shut the door. And then we shut another door when another experience happens because we don't know how to deal with it properly. So we close it and go, forget about it. And each time we go through a bad experience in our life and we don't deal with it properly, we keep closing those doors in that beautiful corridor. And then all of a sudden, that big, beautiful, vast wind that's coming through runs down to a soft, soft breeze. And that's your energy. And you're walking around with this soft breeze going on. And behind those doors in that corridor, there's a tapping. And it taps away. And it's constant. And that tapping becomes a noise in your head. And that's where you have a conversation with someone. And you're talking to them and they're doing this. They're looking over to the right and they're looking up and they're looking over to the left and they're looking at you and you're kind of like, are you listening to me? And they're like, yeah, yep, I'm listening to you. It's good. There's all this shit going on in their head that they can't be present.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stop until you walk back down that corridor. Mm-hmm. And you man up and you woman up and you find that courage within yourself to face the fear. What's behind that door? You open it and you go, hello, who's in there? What's going on? Let's sort this shit out because I'm sick of the noise in here. Right? And you keep doing that until all your doors are open and that wind is channeling through. And all of a sudden you're living in the present and you're living in your energy and you're living in your love and you're going, holy shit, life is good, man. This is awesome.
I love your energy and enthusiasm. It looks like you have opened quite a few of these doors that were closed. Kane, this metaphor about the corridor of life is fascinating. I mean, I've never heard of it described in such a way. I love it. It's something that depicts very beautifully what happens with suppressing negative experiences, especially as children. There are many things that we could keep talking about. Looking at our time frame, what I'm going to do is let me ask you some quick fire questions. All right?
Okay.
So tell me, first of all, what does personal development mean to you?
Finding you again, finding your love and falling back in love with who you are and accepting every bad, dirty, disgusting thing that happened in your life as a journey that turned you into the beautiful person that you are today.
I love this answer. That's great. Let's say you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self. What's the one piece of advice you could give him if you could?
Be yourself.
And if you had a magic wand and you could wave it and change something in the world as it is today, what would you change?
Wow, that's a big one. That is a big one. I would change the perception of how people look and judge other people by just the exterior, whether they're fat or skinny or ugly or buck teeth or glasses or colored. It doesn't matter. It's the same mindset of destruction towards someone. And if I could change that would just start changing the world.
Most certainly. It is these judgments is what keeps us apart, keeps us separated from each other, and not realizing that we're all parts of the same. We're all
exactly.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Kane, is there anything in particular? I know there are many things we talked about, but
I don't think we got to half of what we talked that we were going to talk about.
I can tell by your energy and I'm sure that your acting background and the experiences that you had as an actor has played a role into that, and I find it fascinating. I told you before we started recording that when I was a kid, I wanted to become an actor myself. I never did, but I think it gives someone some tools to manipulate in a good sense, not in a bad sense of the word, their emotional state or the way they see things, because they have to get out of who their personality is and step into a different one. And the ability to do that at will, step in and out of a role or a character, I think it reflects on ability to cope with things in our life as well. That's my my understanding of it.
Yes, look, very much so. And the thing with actors as well, if I could just add, is that as an actor, you become very aware of who you are and your actions, especially if you're a character actor, because you'll change physicality to play a different character. You'll use your opposite hand. You'll chew differently. You'll walk differently. And if you don't know who you are, you pick up these men and you go, oh, I'm doing this now. But you really do get more of a sense of who you are and the things that you do, because then you can change them and go, right, for this role, to be this character, this is how I need to perform and act and move my body and the way that I move my mouth and raise my eyes and the response to someone. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Kane, how can people connect with you and find out more about you and what it is that you do?
Yes, so there is a wonderful private Facebook group. The Facebook group is Successful Separation, Triumphant Self-Empowerment. Now, that's only just launched. We're going to be working on the content in there. And it's from there that people will be able to go and do the larger programs that will really delve deep and we walk people through this whole process with them over a 60-day period, which really changes their habits and creates new habits, and it's wonderful. And you can email me at successwithkane@gmail.com. And I'm on Facebook as Kane Sarota-Novak, and I've mentioned this to you before. I'm the only one in the world. You can't miss me.
Yeah, I have a very, let's say, unusual or rare name as well. There are few of us that it's difficult. There is no other Facebook account, for example. Kane, I want to thank you very much for our conversation. I think there was very much value given, and I think that people who have been in a similar process of grieving or separation will relate for sure and find some, hopefully some useful tools or tactics, if you want, to help them fast track it and get out of this situation quicker. I want to wish you all the very best. Any last parting words?
For one, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to talk consistently for a long time. But I will leave one thing for anyone that is going through. The biggest hurdle that they'll face is forgiveness. And that's forgiveness within you. And if you can get there, that's a pretty big wall and pretty big mountain to get over. And once you've done it, man, there's a beautiful beach on the other side with the sun coming down. It's gorgeous. I'll leave that there. Thank you, Agi. It's been amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it for this beautiful word of forgiveness. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thank you for listening. Please take a moment to subscribe and review Personal Development Mastery on Apple Podcasts, and also share this podcast with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want to gain access to exclusive content while supporting this podcast, then become my patron. The link is in the show notes, or you can type bit.ly/pdmpad. If you want to know more about what I do and how I can help you, or if you have any questions, join my Facebook group Personal Development Mastery. Again, the link is in the show notes, or you can simply type bit.ly/pdmgroup. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in.